by noon, my shirt was damp with sweat and the back of my neck stung from too much sun. I'd been up since 6:30, starting with sweeping off the porch, clearing spider webs from the railings, and hauling folding chairs from the garage to the backyard. No one else offered to help. No one even asked if I needed it. Jordan's got more time than the rest of us. Someone had said at breakfast a casual remark with sharp edges. I wasn't unemployed. I wasn't free. I had a remote job I put on hold. Deadlines quietly pushed back. Hours I'd have to make up. But here, in this house, I was still the helper. The one without kids, without a spouse, without a real excuse. By 10 a.m., I was driving to the store for last-minute groceries. Grandma wanted her favorite root beer. Someone forgot the paper plates. Aunt Denise texted me a list with no please and no thank you. I didn't argue. I just went. When I got back, my cousin's toddler had spilled juice on the carpet, and everyone panicked, but no one cleaned it. I did. I scrubbed while they watched football and said things like, "You're a lifesaver," without once getting up. Lunch was chaos. I grilled burgers while chasing away wasps. I set up the drinks cooler. I cut watermelon into perfect wedges. And every time I passed by someone lounging in the shade with a drink in their hand, something in me pulled tighter. But I didn't say anything. Because I'd learned long ago that in this family, keeping the peace meant keeping your mouth shut. It wasn't just expected, it was required. We didn't do drama. We did deep sighs, knowing looks, and emotional labor disguised as duty. At one point, Grandma appeared beside me with a damp cloth. She wiped the sweat off my temple, gentle as anything. "You okay?" "Honey?" she asked. I nodded too quickly. That one question almost undid me, because no one else had asked, not once, not even to pretend. The hours rolled on. More dishes piled up, more wrappers, more noise, more needs. I made lemonade. I fixed the wobbly table. I babysat while someone else took a quick nap. No one noticed when I missed lunch. No one asked why I wasn't sitting down. And I told myself, just make it through the day. Just get through dinner. You can rest later. But later kept moving further away. Every time I sat down, someone needed something. Every time I took a breath, someone sighed like I was in the way. And that's when I felt it, the quiet burn behind my eyes. The kind that doesn't come from exhaustion, but from being invisible for too long. I wasn't helping anymore. I was fading. I sat down for the first time all day with a paper plate balanced on my knees and a burger that had gone cold. I was in the far corner of the backyard, on one of those collapsible camping chairs with the cup holder that always collects dust. My hands smelled like bleach and barbecue sauce, and my back was aching in that dull, hollow way that comes from doing too much without stopping. Nobody noticed I was gone from the group. Nobody noticed I was there. Until Uncle Ray spoke. He was 3 beers in, maybe 4, reclined in a lawn chair like he was the emperor of the family reunion. He gestured at me with a half-eaten corn cob, laughing through his words. "Well, look who finally took a seat. What's the matter, Jordan? You worn out from all that drama." He said it loud enough for everyone to hear. A few people chuckled. Not full laughs, more like those uncomfortable throat sounds people make when they don't want to pick a side. I blinked. That's all I could do at first. Just blink. And then he added, "Nobody asked you to do all this. You know, you're just being dramatic. Always have been." It didn't hit me all at once. It came in slow waves, embarrassment, fury, shame, grief. Then came the stillness. That deep, eerie kind of stillness where you realize a line has been crossed so casually. It wasn't even meant to be cruel. They didn't think they'd done anything wrong. That was the worst part. I didn't respond. I didn't give him the satisfaction of an outburst. Instead, I stood up, quietly, placed my plate still full on the edge of the table, and walked toward the house. No one stopped me. Upstairs, I moved like someone in a dream. I pulled my duffel from under the bed, started stuffing it with the same clothes I'd folded neatly 2 days earlier, my phone charger, my book, my toothbrush. Socks I hadn't even worn yet. I was halfway through zipping the bag when I heard laughter downstairs, carefree, loud, as if nothing had cracked wide open. And that's when the tears started. Not the kind that rush out in sobs, the kind that sting your eyes and slip down your cheeks slowly, without permission. Quiet grief. The kind you don't perform. The kind that's old and familiar and shaped like silence. I wasn't just leaving because of one comment. I was leaving because I'd finally admitted to myself what I'd spent years denying they were never going to see me. Not the effort, not the exhaustion, not the slow erosion of self that comes from always being the reliable one. I zipped the bag, wiped my face, and walked down the stairs. Nobody asked where I was going. No one looked up. Not until I opened the screen door, that high-pitched creak that always gave me away when I tried to sneak out as a teenager. But I wasn't sneaking now. I was choosing, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about it. The late afternoon sun had started to dip just enough to throw long shadows across the porch steps. I pulled the screen door closed behind me, letting it slam just enough to be heard. Still, no one followed. No one called out. I walked down the path with my duffel slung over one shoulder, keys in hand, jaw set. It didn't feel like a tantrum. It felt surgical, precise. I wasn't running away. I was extracting myself. The yard was still buzzing behind me, the clatter of plastic cups, a kid crying because someone wouldn't share a toy, the grating hum of my cousin's playlist on a Bluetooth speaker. The same scene I'd held together for hours was continuing without me. No one noticed the scaffolding was leaving. I reached the driveway. My car was parked beneath the old oak tree, the one I used to climb when I was 9. I used to think it was magic, that it could hear things. I remember whispering secrets to its bark like it was a diary. Now, it was just a tree. I tossed my bag in the back seat, slammed the door. My hands were trembling. Not from nerves, from restraint, from the energy it took not to scream, not to throw everything I'd carried for this family back at them like a mirror. I wasn't going to ask for permission to be tired. I wasn't going to ask again to be seen. I took a step toward the driver's side door. Then I heard it. The soft creak of the porch screen. I turned around. Grandma. She was standing there with bare feet and a grocery bag tucked under one arm, like she'd just stepped out to take the trash out. Except she wasn't carrying trash. She was holding something wrapped in old newspaper, yellowed at the edges and tied with a piece of fraying twine. She walked toward me slowly, like she didn't want to startle me, like I was a bird she didn't want to scare off the fence post. When she reached me, she didn't say, "Don't go." She didn't tell me I was overreacting. She just looked up at me with those eyes, the kind that had watched generations unravel and stitch themselves back together. Then she said, "Before you go, I think this is yours." She held out the bundle. I hesitated, then took it. It was heavier than it looked. I pulled the twine loose. The paper crinkled softly. Inside was a small wooden box, worn, hand-carved, clearly old, the kind of thing you only keep if it matters. I opened it. Inside a stack of old letters, most of them addressed in a familiar hand. Mine. Notes I'd written as a child. Thank you cards. Doodles. One had a stick figure version of her with a crown and the words Queen Grandma scrawled underneath. Beneath those, a photo me at maybe 10 years old, flour on my face, standing at the kitchen counter with a mixing spoon, smiling like I had no idea the world could one day disappoint me. And under that, a birthday card, never opened, never sent. The front read, "To the one who always shows up." I opened it. "You've always done more than anyone asked. I see it. I see you. I just didn't always know how to say it loud enough." I felt something split in me then, not in a painful way. More like a seam that had been pulled too tight for too long, finally giving way. Tears welled up, not from sadness, but from relief, from being seen, even if it came late. Grandma looked at me, her voice low. "I've been saving that, waiting for the right time." I wanted to ask, why now, but I already knew, because she saw I was about to leave. And she didn't want me to go thinking I'd never mattered. I didn't speak right away. I just stood there in the driveway, wooden box in my hands, feeling like someone had cracked open a part of me I didn't even realize I'd locked shut. The kind of vulnerability that doesn't bring pain, but disorientation. Like stepping into a house you've lived in your whole life, only to find a hidden door that was always there. Grandma didn't rush me. She stood beside me, arms crossed gently, like she was keeping watch. There was something in her stillness, not just patience, but permission. Like she knew I needed a minute to let the moment land. I looked down at the photo again. Me, 10 years old, in a faded t-shirt, hair wild, a smear of chocolate on my cheek. I was laughing not for the camera, but because I was actually happy. That version of me felt like someone I'd once known and lost touch with. I ran my fingers over the card. The handwriting on the envelope was Grandma's. Inside, it read, "I don't always say it, but I've watched you always helping, always holding everyone else up. You remind me of myself when I was your age. Everyone thought I could handle everything, too. And maybe I could. But no one ever asked if I wanted to." I swallowed hard. Another slip of folded paper fell from the bottom of the box. Grandma nudged it with her finger. "That one. That's from before your mama had you." I unfolded it carefully. The paper was yellowed, but the ink was sharp. It was a journal page, Grandma's, written in her looping, spidery cursive. "Ray never helps clean. Denise makes excuses. Harold pretends not to hear me. But my niece, my sweet niece, Jordan, she shows up every time without complaint. She carries things no child should carry. I don't say it enough, but I see it. I see her." It was dated when I was 14. I remember that day. The family BBQ where the grill caught fire, and I was the one who grabbed the hose while everyone else just screamed. That night, I burned my hand but told everyone I was fine. No one asked twice. But she'd written it down. She'd remembered. And then, quietly, she added, "I kept everything," Grandma said, her voice soft. "Every note you ever gave me. Every thank you. Every scribble. Because you gave it freely. And no one else ever gave you anything back." That cracked me open. Because it wasn't about the box. It wasn't about the words. It was about knowing that somewhere in the middle of all the noise and neglect, someone had been witnessing me all along. Not performing gratitude, not clapping for show, but watching, holding on to proof that I existed in all the quiet ways I thought didn't count. I looked up at her. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" She smiled, tired and knowing. "Because I thought you already knew. And maybe I was wrong about that. But I'm not wrong about you." For a second, I didn't feel like the helper, The cleaner, the one who was always one more task away from being enough. I just felt like a person, seen, remembered, loved. Not for what I gave, but for who I was when I didn't even know anyone was looking. I hugged her then, not tight, just enough. And she held on like she wasn't letting me go unless I wanted her to. I didn't leave. Not that day. I didn't unpack right away either. I left the duffel by the door, like I might still go. Like I was testing the weight of staying after I'd already rehearsed leaving. But something in me had shifted. Not a full repair. Not forgiveness wrapped in a bow. But enough. Grandma went back inside first. She didn't tell anyone what happened out there. And neither did I. Some things aren't meant for group discussion. Some things belong in quiet moments between two people who've spent years understanding each other without having to explain. The house was loud when I walked back in. Someone had spilled soda. The Bluetooth speaker was still thumping out early 2000s pop like it was trying too hard. I passed Uncle Ray in the hallway. He looked up at me briefly and muttered, "Hey," like nothing had happened. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, I just didn't feel like spending my energy explaining silence to someone who'd never earned my voice in the first place. That night, I didn't do the dishes. I didn't fold napkins, or clean up solo cups, or check on the casserole that was overcooked because someone forgot the timer. I sat on the porch with Grandma instead, sharing the last slice of peach pie from a chipped plate we passed back and forth. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. She held the wooden box on her lap like it was sacred, occasionally lifting one of the old notes and smiling in that quiet way only people with long memories can. The next morning, the house was already buzzing again. Kids running, doors slamming, voices overlapping. The usual, but something had changed. Grandma had placed the wooden box on the kitchen table open, in plain sight, and next to it, a second chair. She didn't say why. She didn't have to. That chair wasn't for anyone else. It was for me. Not to clean, not to serve, just to sit, to exist. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the backup generator, the unthanked hand behind every family meal. I wasn't waiting for someone to notice me, to validate my usefulness, because someone already had, and that was enough.